You notice the shift long before the first heavy drop of moisture strikes the parched earth. The transition is subtle yet profound. The bird feeders, which were bustling centers of activity only moments ago, suddenly stand abandoned. The yard, which 10 minutes prior had been a theater of avian life, featuring a pair of northern cardinals meticulously working through sunflower seeds, and a white-breasted nuthatch navigating the rugged bark of an old oak tree in its characteristic head-first descent, descends into a silence that feels fundamentally different from the ordinary quiet of a mid-afternoon lull. This is a heavy, expectant silence. The birds have vanished. When the rain finally begins to fall, most casual observers make a logical but largely incomplete assumption. They believe the birds have simply sought shelter to wait out the inclement weather. We imagine them tucked away in some dry, safe nook, perhaps huddled together until the sun reappears. However, the reality of what occurs in your backyard during a rain event is one of the most complex and frequently misunderstood sequences in the entire spectrum of avian behavior. It is far from a simple matter of seeking cover. The strategies employed are highly species-specific, and in many instances, the actions your birds take are the exact opposite of what human intuition would suggest. What you are observing is a phenomenon that unfolds dozens of times each year in your immediate environment. Every time the sky transitions to a leaden gray, every time the barometric pressure begins its downward slide, and every time the quality of light shifts, a sophisticated biological script begins to run. You have likely witnessed the opening act of this drama for years, yet the subsequent chapters have remained largely hidden from view. Welcome to a deeper exploration of the backyard bird mind. Before we proceed into the mechanics of avian survival, consider the depth of what is happening just beyond your window. The interactions between physiology, behavioral ecology, and real-time decision-making during weather events are subjects that researchers have only recently begun to map with precision. By the end of this discussion, we will cover a final aspect of rain behavior that almost no bird enthusiast considers, a realization that will fundamentally alter how you perceive your yard on the next rainy morning. 1. The preemptive strike, detecting the inevitable. The first and perhaps most remarkable reality is that your birds are aware of the approaching rain long before you are. There is a specific biological reason why your feeders become ghost towns just as the storm breaks, and it has nothing to do with luck or coincidence. It is the result of a sensory system operating at a level of sensitivity that far exceeds the capabilities of the most advanced weather applications on your smartphone. Birds possess a specialized sensory apparatus that humans entirely lack. Located within the paratympanic organ in the middle ear, as well as through specialized mechanoreceptors distributed throughout their bodies, birds can detect minute fluctuations in barometric pressure with extraordinary accuracy. This is often referred to as the vitale organ. As a low-pressure system moves into an area, the atmospheric weight literally changes. While humans might feel a vague heaviness or perhaps a joint ache, birds receive a clear, quantifiable signal that the environment is about to change. Research conducted at the University of Minnesota, which involved tracking localized weather patterns alongside high-resolution data from bird feeder activity, revealed a fascinating trend. Avian feeding behavior does not surge after a storm, nor does it typically peak during the event. Instead, there is a massive spike in caloric intake in the hours immediately preceding a major rain event. The birds are not reacting to the rain, they are preparing for a period of enforced fasting. By loading up on high-energy fats and proteins before the first drop falls, birds are essentially topping off their tanks. They understand that once the rain becomes heavy, the insects they hunt will hide, and the energetic cost of foraging will skyrocket. This explains why your feeders often appear frantic in that narrow window of cool, gray, slightly eerie air that precedes a storm. The light turns a particular shade of silver, the pressure drops, and the birds eat with a desperate intensity. They know exactly what is coming. Take, for example, the ruby-throated hummingbird. This tiny marvel of engineering can detect barometric shifts so subtle that researchers have used their behavior as a proxy for meteorological instruments in field studies. A hummingbird that typically visits your nectar feeder every 15 minutes will transition to nearly continuous feeding in the hour before a storm. Given its incredibly high metabolic rate, the hummingbird cannot afford to lose even an hour of foraging time without significant risk. It is burning through its reserves and replacing them in real time, preparing for a duration when the small flying insects it relies on for protein will be grounded and inaccessible. 2. The physics of feathers. More than just waterproofing. There's a common misconception that birds in the rain are simply wet and miserable, much like a domestic dog that has been caught in a downpour, saturated, heavy, and shivering. The biological reality is far more nuanced and, in many ways, more perilous. Bird feathers are not waterproof in the sense that a rubber raincoat is. Rather, they are water-resistant through a combination of chemical coating and structural engineering. The outer contour feathers of most songbirds are treated with a specialized oil produced by the uropygial gland, located at the base of the tail. During the act of preening, a bird uses its bill to distribute this oil across its plumage. This oil helps maintain the integrity of the feather's microscopic structure, the barbules and barbicels, which interlock like a zipper to create a physical barrier. In a light rain, this system is incredibly effective. Water beads up and rolls off the surface, leaving the bird's skin and insulating down completely dry. However, in heavy or sustained rain, this system can reach a breaking point. If the rain is forceful enough or lasts long enough, the structural barrier can be overwhelmed. Once the outer feathers become saturated, the water reaches the inner layer of down. This downy layer is designed to trap a pocket of warm air against the bird's body, maintaining a core temperature that typically hovers around 105 degrees Fahrenheit. When water displaces that air, the insulation fails. For a small bird, a chickadee, a golden-crowned kinglet, or a winter wren, this is a physiological emergency. Because of their high surface area to volume ratio, small birds lose heat at an alarming rate. In cold, wet conditions, a bird can transition from a healthy state to a life-threatening state of hypothermia in a matter of minutes, not hours. This is why their behavior during rain is never passive. It is a calculated effort at thermal regulation. When the rain becomes too heavy to forage safely, birds move to structural cover. They seek out dense shrubs, the interior of thick canopied conifers like spruces or pines, or brush piles, where the primary force of the rain is intercepted by the vegetation. Once tucked away, they adopt a specific posture. They orient their backs to the wind to minimize the surface area exposed to the elements, and they compress their feathers into a tight, streamlined shape. This compression is intentional. It makes the feathers more effective at shedding water and helps maintain the integrity of the air pocket beneath. When you see a bird hunkered down in the rain, looking smaller and sleeker than usual, you are seeing a bird that has engaged its survival armor. While most birds retreat, there are notable exceptions. Birds that seem to thrive, or at least remain active when the weather turns. This behavior reveals a fascinating level of evolutionary adaptation. The American robin is perhaps the most prominent example of this rain-hardy strategy. You have likely seen it. The rain is falling steadily, the feeders are deserted, and yet there is a robin on the lawn, seemingly unbothered, pulling earthworms from the mud with surgical precision. This is not a case of the robin being too dumb to come in out of the rain. It is a highly calculated exploitation of an environmental opportunity. Rain drives earthworms to the surface. While the exact scientific mechanism is still debated, some suggest it is the vibration of raindrops mimicking a predator like a mole. Others point to the saturation of the soil reducing oxygen levels. The result for the robin is a literal feast. The robin's larger body size, compared to a warbler or a chickadee, gives it a physiological advantage. It can retain heat longer and withstand more moisture before its core temperature is threatened. For the robin, the benefit of a high-protein, easily accessible meal outweighs the energetic cost of getting wet. You are watching a biological mathematician at work, having decided that the math of the rain works in its favor. Similarly, house sparrows often exhibit a bold approach to rain. They are frequently the last species to leave a feeder station and the first to return. They will often huddle under the small overhanging roof of a hopper feeder, pressing themselves into the narrow dry zone to continue eating while other species have fled. By staying, they eliminate competition. They are the opportunists of the avian world, using the weather as a tool to gain access to resources that would normally be guarded by more dominant but more weather-sensitive species. 4. The hidden life of the rain-soaked yard. When the rain is at its heaviest and the yard appears devoid of life, the birds are not simply waiting. They are engaged in behaviors that are essential to their long-term survival, but are rarely seen by humans. The primary activity during these periods is intensive preening. Preening is not a luxury or a form of boredom grooming. It is a critical maintenance task. During a rain event, a bird will spend a significant amount of time meticulously realigning the microscopic barbs of its feathers. If a feather is unzipped, it cannot repel water or trap heat. By spending the duration of the storm working through its plumage, the bird ensures that it will be ready to fly and forage the moment the weather breaks. Research from the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, RSPB, indicates that garden birds spend a disproportionately high percentage of their time preening during and immediately after rain compared to dry periods. Furthermore, birds may enter a state of passive thermoregulation, or even a mild form of torpor during extended storms. You might see a bird sitting perfectly still for an hour, one leg tucked up into its belly feathers to reduce heat loss through the unfeathered limb. This is a sophisticated energy management strategy. The bird is essentially idling its engine, burning as little fuel as possible while maintaining the physiological readiness to explode into action the second the environment permits. This means that your empty yard is actually full of life. It is populated by dozens of birds you simply cannot see, hidden in the hollows of trees, the undersides of thick branches, and the depths of your hedges. They are watching the rain with a level of focus and patience that is difficult for the human mind to comprehend. 5. The post-storm surge, the 10-minute window. If you want to witness the most intense avian activity of the day, you must watch the first 10 minutes after the rain stops. This is the period I recommend setting a timer for. When the clouds break and the precipitation ceases, the yard undergoes a transformation that is as rapid as it is dramatic. The birds do not trickle back. They return in a sudden, urgent wave. Because their energy reserves have been depleted by the hours of waiting and the metabolic cost of staying warm, the competition at the feeders becomes incredibly fierce. This is the best time to observe the social hierarchy of your local bird population. The pecking order is never more visible than in the immediate aftermath of a storm. Typically, the dominant individuals are the first to arrive. You will see the male northern cardinal reclaim his spot before the female, or the most aggressive blue jay clear the platform feeder of all other occupants. The social structure that is often blurred during the relaxed midday hours is suddenly re-established with sharp clarity. Beyond the feeders, the ground foraging birds experience a resource pulse. The rain has not only brought up the worms, but has also displaced thousands of small invertebrates. Insects that were sheltering on the undersides of leaves or in the crevices of bark are now damp, visible, and often grounded. This is why you see a sudden spike in species diversity on your lawn and in your garden beds. Cornell Lab of Ornithology's eBird data consistently shows a sharp increase in bird sightings and species diversity reported in the hour following a rain event. It is as if the entire ecosystem has been reset, and every inhabitant is rushing to capitalize on the new conditions. 6. The map of trust, what rain reveals about your habitat. Finally, we come to the aspect of rain behavior that is perhaps the most profound for the backyard observer. Rain changes the visibility of your yard's infrastructure. On a clear day, a holly bush or a brush pile might look like a decorative element or a bit of yard waste. But during a storm, These structures are revealed as essential survival assets. Where your birds go when the rain starts tells you exactly which parts of your landscape they trust. A bird does not choose a shelter at random when its life is on the line. It returns to a site it has evaluated and vetted. Research from the British Trust for Ornithology has shown that individual birds often return to the exact same branch or cavity during successive weather events. They possess a mental map of refuge sites that they update and refine over years of residency. That dense arbor vitae in the corner of your lot, the inner branches of an old spruce, or the tangled mess of a blackberry thicket, these are the bones of your bird's survival. Rain makes this invisible map visible to you. By observing where the birds disappear, you can see the true value of the habitat you have provided. When you choose to plant a native evergreen instead of a deciduous shrub, or when you decide to leave a brush pile in the corner of the yard rather than hauling it to the landfill, you are directly contributing to this survival map. You are providing the roosting infrastructure that allows a chickadee or a nuthatch to survive a freezing November rain. Conclusion: the reorganized yard. The next time you stand at your window and watch the sky turn gray, remember that you are not looking at a yard that is about to become empty. You are looking at a highly organized system transitioning into a different mode of existence. The feeders may be still, and the branches may appear vacant, but the life is there, pressed into the shadows, managing its temperature, maintaining its feathers, and waiting with a precision that honors millions of years of evolution. The cardinal in the holly bush is not just hiding, he is executing a strategy. The robin on the lawn is not just wet, he is hunting. And the entire avian community is waiting for that specific shift in pressure and light that signals the end of the storm. A signal they will feel in their very bones long before you see the first ray of sunlight. The yard did not empty. It reorganized around the rain. It reorganized around the fundamental drive to survive. And in that reorganization, if you are patient and observant, you can see the true nature of the wild animals that share your space. They know your yard better than you do. They know which branch stays driest in a north wind, and they know which feeder roof offers the best protection. Rain is the moment when the curtain is pulled back, and you are invited to see the world through their eyes. I encourage you to take a moment during the next storm to really look. Don't just see the rain. See the response. Watch the first 10 minutes after the clouds break. Observe which birds return first and where they emerged from. These observations are the key to a deeper understanding of the natural world that exists right outside your door. Tell me in the comments below, what have you noticed in your yard during or after a heavy rain? Have you seen specific birds using specific shelters year after year? Have you witnessed the post-rain surge at your feeders? Your observations contribute to our collective understanding of these remarkable creatures. I read every comment, and I look forward to hearing your stories. Thank you for being part of the Backyard Bird Mind community. I will see you in the next exploration of the wild world around us. Until then, keep watching, even when the weather turns, especially when the weather turns, because that is when the real story begins. The complexity of these behaviors serves as a reminder that birds are not merely decorative visitors to our gardens. They are highly sophisticated organisms navigating a world of constant physical and thermal challenges. Every decision they make, from the timing of a meal to the choice of a perching spot, is an exercise in survival. By understanding the why behind their actions during a rainstorm, we move from being mere spectators to informed stewards of their environment. We begin to see our yards not just as property, but as a critical landscape of refuge and resource. The rain, far from being a disruption, is a vital part of the rhythm of avian life, a test of their resilience, and a demonstration of their extraordinary adaptation to the world they inhabit. As we look forward to the changing seasons and the varied weather they bring, let us maintain this perspective. Whether it is the searing heat of summer, the biting winds of winter, or the drenching rains of spring, our backyard birds are constantly calculating, constantly adapting,
and constantly revealing the wonders of the natural world to those who take the time to look closely. The next time the rain falls, don't turn away from the window. Stay a while. Watch the silence. Wait for the return. You might be surprised at what you discover when you finally see the rain for what it truly is, a window into the hidden lives of birds.